Yes, all of those things.
Hey, good people. This is Rocki with Rocki's Reality, the #1 podcast for unfiltered and unapologetic culture, entertainment, and relationships. Tap in live Thursdays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as I chat with some of the dopest artists, celebrities, influencers, entrepreneurs, and more. Make sure to catch us live Thursdays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Roku. See you soon.
I had to explain to a potential client, like, because he's opening up a talent, I should say, talent management, curating business type thing. And he was like, "We're gonna be clean. We're not gonna be doing all that twerking." And I said, "Well, depending on your audience, you might want to fit it in there cleanly because technically, it is a part of our culture."
It's from Africa.
Exactly. So
I'm okay with it.
Listen.
I'm here for
It's
it.
a way to twerk.
Yeah.
And you know what? We are going to talk about the whole Megan. That's one thing I want to get your opinion on, the Megan Thee Stallion at
Kamala's.
Yes. Listen. That was so hilarious. So, okay, y'all, welcome to Rocki's Reality. As y'all know, I just get into start talking. That just what makes me. That's kind of my ADHD. I just got to start talking, and of course, I'm here with a friend of mine who I love dearly. And I had to think, like, when I first interviewed you for Empire Life magazine, that was like about like 8 or 9 years ago.
That's probably going on 10 years ago. Yeah, it's a while ago.
I had to really think, and I tried to find an article because I think the magazine is no longer functioning, but it was pretty much what I still do as far as highlighting entrepreneurs. And so, as the first African American woman to patent a natural hair care product and a recognized, listen, let me repeat that. I don't think people understand the magnitude of that. Let me repeat that. As the first African American woman to patent a natural hair care product and recognized figure in entrepreneurial circles, Gwen Jimmere's story has captivated audiences on platforms like Forbes, The Today Show, Good Morning America, Business Insider, CNBC, and she was also on BET as well.
Yes.
Y'all, and Gwen is so humble. Her journey from a struggling single mother to a celebrated CEO of Naturalicious is a testament to her resilience, innovation, and unwavering determination. I'm having all. See, this is why I don't read the bios, all that. We're going to skip to the end, though. Let's skip to the end. Y'all know I'm a whole clown. We're going to skip to the end. Through her podcast, The Get Money Show, Gwen ignites a passion for entrepreneurship, personal finance, innovation, and self-belief while delivering practical and actionable insights to her audience. I totally messed that up, y'all, but y'all get the idea. And I love the actionable part. Nice bio, Gwen. By the way, I'm impressed. As a bio writer myself, I'm impressed.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I love it. So her expertise is invaluable to anyone seeking to grow a business to 7 figures and beyond, while also creating financial freedom and living the life they truly want.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome, Gwen.
Thanks, hon.
Actually, welcome back.
Yes.
Y'all, Gwen was on the show when we covered interracial couples. I want to say this was 2018.
Wasn't that long ago?
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Here's the thing: the pandemic. My brain be like the pandemic. Just be like in the sport. It was.
It feel like everything stopped at the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's as far as like concept of time.
It's ridiculous.
It's
so like that's why I said some type.
It's almost
of
like the year 2000.
Yeah.
For me, like with 2000 is like. In my mind, the 70s was still 30 years ago, but really, it's like 50 some years ago, because it's like everything stopped in 2000.
Right. Wait a minute. We some old school music fiends, right?
Yeah.
So I got Sirius XM, and Sirius XM will show you the year, and I'll be looking like this came out in 93.
Right.
I'll be in the car now, and all day I'm a 70s music fan. You all know that 70s, 80s. So because to me, music is timeless, and that's the beauty of good music. By the way, but welcome, Gwen. Welcome back. And I just want to give you your flowers. I really admire and love you. I just love how you are just a humble person, how you smart as fuck, you beautiful, and you just I love how that you have that business acumen too. I've always admired that about you. But I also love how you know how to have fun too.
Thank you.
And I
I
love how
appreciate
you
that.
can give people the advice in a relatable manner. And I just, and I'm just honored to know you. I just love and adore
Thank
you.
you. I love
And
you as well.
Caden, and listen, and Papa Jimmere, they done been to the house for Father's Day, and we just had a ball. Okay.
Yes.
They part of the families now. The elders, they sit at the picnic table and just be so happy. And we sit at the, young people.
At the kids' table.
We at the kids' table kind of.
We still young.
Yeah, we
still
are.
Young,
We are though.
At least in comparison to them.
Yeah, listen. And I'm just grateful that we are here and that we look the way we do, because 40 is a whole new. It's a whole new. I don't know. Do you feel like different in your 40s?
I do, and I'm gonna tell you what I love about being 40 in the 40s. I love that. I feel like 40 is relatively young, right? Because if you were to if you were to unfortunately pass away like today, they say like, "Oh my gosh, she was so young," right?
Right.
You're relatively young, but you have all the wisdom of 40 years of living.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took care of yourself and you weren't smoking and drinking your life away, you probably still look pretty good, right? So you can still, like, at this age, it's the rare age where you can hang out with the 20-some-year-olds, depending on their level of maturity.
Baby.
And then you can hang out with the 60-some aunties, right?
Yep,
And it's like you can flow, right? But you're still young, but you have all the wisdom. It's like all the things that you wish you had at 25 that you didn't, but you probably still feel like you're in your 20s if you took care of yourself. So it's a really good age, but you also not here for that bullshit either.
Okay, listen.
Like you are able to see through the things. You're able to recognize the red flags right away, make good decisions. Whereas when you're younger, I kind of, it's 12 red flags, but it's like 2 green flags, and I'm just going like,
you know what? Ding, 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 where the
flags.
bell, Lord Jesus. The moments we had, Jesus. But now in the 40s, we like, no,
it's different. Yeah, so I love this age.
I do too. And I love the confidence we have. And like you said, our body, even though I do feel 20, but sometimes when I wake up after a night of partying, I'm gonna just be honest. I went to my 30-year reunion this weekend.
I saw the pictures.
We had a fucking ball. Great. Thank you. We had a ball. Okay, we did. But baby, Monday morning, what's that painting by Annie Lee? Monday morning blues when she sit, baby, that was me on the bed like but I was still grateful to just be there. And I love this age too, because it's like we kind of figured shit out.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't figured it all out, you're at the age where you're confident, you know what you want.
Yes.
And the importance of, just networking and leaning on each other and being cognizant of our health and having those options and being able to mentor the 20-year-olds. Because like you said, if they're mature enough to accept instruction, we can mentor them, and then we can kick it with the aunties too. Yeah. So actually, I was just on the phone with Sydney and my auntie and my mama. They're all down in Atlanta, and we were like talking about my cousin, Lord Jesus bless her, who just, how you had them family members. But anyway, we ain't gonna get into it. But I want to explain to people what this means for you to have a patent. Please break that down to people. Yeah. So, and then we'll get into the naturalicious journey. Let's start there.
So I had, as you mentioned earlier, I'm the first Black woman to own a patent on a natural hair care product. And really what that means is it's intellectual property, right? So there's different types of intellectual property. There's patents, there's copyrights, and there's trademarks. So everybody knows what a trademark is. That's, you trademark a logo, you trademark a business name. It's the mark of your trade, if you will. Then there's copyright. So that's generally like books, music, things like that. But a patent is much harder to get because you have to literally convince the government that you've invented something brand new that no one ever, whether they had a patent or not, no one ever created in the history of the world, right? So in the year 2024, or for me, when this happened for me in 2015, that's a lot of years have passed in the world. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to say and convince them unequivocally that you have invented something that is unknown to anyone else. So like, for instance, it would be really hard to get a patent on what's something that Black people do that's like, I don't know. What's up we do?
Hot sauce? Or what do you mean? Like
sure. Let's say you made a hot sauce specifically for greens. People put hot sauce on greens all the time, right? But let's say you were like, I'm going to patent this hot sauce for greens. You're not going to get a patent for that. because that's easily Googleable. Everybody does that, right?
Right.
Even though your process may be different, you've got to create
or barbecue sauce or something like that.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a trademark for that unless you or patent for that, unless you have some distinctly different process. Let's say you make hot sauce from soybeans. No, that's a different story, right? But just regular hot sauce is not gonna happen. And so, the beauty of having a patent is that you really get to protect your invention. And I think for our community especially, that is so important because we are the innovators of honestly, of pretty much everything. And we create a lot of things, but we don't own a whole lot of things. And then some other company comes along and they then take what we've created, they then go and patent it, and they have the dollars to be able to market behind it. And then we have no recourse. All we can do is complain on social media about it.
Oh, did she? You know what, Gwen? And that's why I love when you be coming I love when you be coming with the zingers. She be like, y'all steady complaining though. So wait a minute, what did you invent, Gwen?
So I invented a hair care product that allows women of color, particularly people with texture hair, generally, to be able to wash, condition. It's a 5-in-1, so it's a shampoo, conditioner, detangler, deep conditioner, and a leave-in conditioner all at one time. And so it does all those things at once, as opposed to us having to wash our hair, rinse it out, put in a conditioner, rinse that out, put in a detangler, detangle our hair for 45 minutes to an hour, rinse that out, and go through that whole process, which takes, 4 or 5 hours sometimes.
Because it's wash day. Like you would say, it would be like a whole day.
Correct.
And you reduced it by like 40% the time that it would
More
take?
than that. It actually takes you from wash to done in 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to hours and hours.
Okay.
But the novelty of it was that not only was it a multitasking product, but it was actually made with a particular ingredient found only in Morocco, which is called Rasul clay. And so that, combined with all the other ingredients that I put together, that was the invention. And it was the utility of the product being able to go from wash to done in 30 minutes, but then also the formulation of the product as well.
I love that. And so people maybe have those who are tapping in after all these years who first met Gwen. We do have a question. Where's the question?
Okay.
I was gonna we'll get to the question a little bit, but Naturalicious was born from, and people again who've seen Gwen on the past show may remember this, Caden, who is now 14.
He's 13.
He's 13. Is he still the candy?
He's not really.
He's grown out of that. I know he's a big
bit.
boy now.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to your question in a little bit, Jamie. Johnny, thank you for tuning in. But that was born from, you were pregnant with him, and you were like, I don't want to put perm in my hair because of these the chemicals. And so you were in your kitchen. You know how we do in our kitchen. We just be whipping some shit up.
Yep.
You know, we from the ancestors. And was like, so just give us a little snapshot of how you got to this point, and then we'll take the question.
Yeah. So I was, like you said, it was in my kitchen. I wasn't even trying to create a company, honestly. I feel like a lot of us, we create things for ourselves and they end up becoming companies. Women are notorious for this because we are problem solvers, right?
Right.
And I was very aware of the chemicals that were found in hair care products that were targeted specifically to us. I was finding out that, they were causing all sorts of issues like breast cancer coming from the hair relaxers we were using, uterine fibroids. Black women over-index above and beyond any other demographic combined with uterine fibroids. And we also coincidentally happen to be the largest purchaser of hair products as well. And there's been no government entity who has made that connection, but I mean 1 + 1 = 2, right? And so there's that. Also, little girls getting their menstrual cycles as early as 6 and 7 years old because of ingredients targeted to us. These same ingredients are banned in countries like Asia, continents like Asia and Africa, and even parts of Europe. But not here in America. And I can only imagine this for the dollars, right? But there's well-known ingredients that cause these issues. And so I was like, well, I don't want to have to sacrifice how my hair looks for my health, right? Like I want to have my hair looking great. I need my hair to be popping, but I don't want to die in the process, right? Like, and so I was like, why has no one come up with anything to solve this issue? On top of the fact that I don't feel like I should have to spend 5 hours on my hair. This is ridiculous. Let's create a solution to this. And so that was the catalyst for it. But I want to come back real quick to the patent thing. I want to kind of put this tidbit to the audience, is that having a patent is great, right? But we really need to start thinking as a community about dollars and money, right? When you have a patent, well, when we as Black people own a company and we sell our companies, what's the first thing Black people do? Oh my God, they sold out.
Yes,
Right?
I was going to ask you about that.
Right. They sold out. However, should you own your intellectual property, now you have a licensable entity that you still own. So technically, let's say I did sell my company, which I have no plans of doing, but let's say I did, right?
Because we know like Carol's daughter and
They're all sold, yeah.
yeah, Shea Butter,
Yeah,
Shea Moisture,
yep,
those,
yep,
right, right.
And they sold, and no shade to them, like,
yeah, because
get your money.
I remember you and Dante Lee were saying it's like this
Yeah.
is not a big deal, and we were
Yeah.
So and when you explained it, I kind of understood. So this
Yeah.
is explaining it better.
Yeah. So when you sell your company, if you own a patent, right, for like I do, or a trademark or anything, right, and you own that intellectual property, you can sell the company, but you still technically own the product, right? So let's say I sold my business to some other company. Every time that product that has the patent is sold to a consumer, they now have to pay me a royalty. Right. And so like
Okay.
if you think about
So
like
similar in the music business, when somebody licenses their
Very much
music, if
so.
it's played on the radio or if it's streamed or it's played in a movie, you get a portion.
Very much so.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just like let's
Alright.
say Nike's logo is actually worth more than the company itself. So Nike could sell off the company and Phil Jackson would still own the
Excuse me.
trademark to Nike. And that in itself is a whole separate like business if he
Probably
wanted it to
worth
be.
billions.
So we have to start thinking about that beyond just like, oh, they sold out. Like, no, how much could Richard Lou Dennis, who owns Shea Moisture, how much more good could he do by selling his company to Unilever for almost $1 billion
Excuse me.
and then creating an incubator for other Black women-owned businesses to be able to come up and grow? He couldn't do that by himself without selling his company. But because he sold his company, he now was able to impact 40, 50 different Black-owned businesses that are now sold in Target and Walmart and all these other places, you know? So it's like we have to think bigger.
Okay. Okay. Because I love that. Just how Issa Rae has different filmmakers and Ava DuVernay, how they've made companies that will nurture.
Correct.
So good. I'm getting it. Okay. Getting it. So also, excuse me, you all. So talk about the journey, transitioning through Naturalicious and how you've come to this point.
So I've done Naturalicious for a
Excuse me,
long
y'all.
time. I've done my company
Excuse me,
Naturalicious.
you all, my sinuses are acting up. Excuse me.
You're good. I've done my company Naturalicious for a long time. It's been technically 13 years that Naturalicious has been in existence in some sort of way. 11 years since it's been.
Congratulations, because this is
Thank
Small
you.
Business Month.
Thank you. 11,
Excuse me.
11 years since it's been in its current iteration that everybody knows it as. And you know, I've done so many amazing things with Naturalicious. I mean, I've been in every major publication you could think of, on every major television network, impacted over 100,000 women, helping them see themselves
and men
as well, and children.
Because I referred a few of my people. Yeah.
Helping them see themselves as beautiful, because
excuse me,
my goal was never necessarily to just make a whole bunch of money, because like I said, it wasn't even really designed to be a business at first. It was just something I was creating for myself, and it happened to turn into a business. But my goal was always that I would see women who look like me, who would complain about how they hated how they looked in the mirror. Their hair never did what they wanted it to do. It was they didn't like what they saw. And I know that like our beauty is so powerful. Our beauty is mimicked by so many other cultures, but yet we are often shamed for our beauty that other people want, right?
Right.
And so for me, it was, I want to create a space that kind of serves as a vehicle to help these people feel better about themselves. Because as a woman, when you feel like, when you look in the mirror, you feel like you popping.
Yes.
Like your day is just off the charts.
And as a Black woman, our hair is a big part of it.
It's a huge part.
For us.
More so than even our makeup and all that sort of stuff, right? Our hair is
exactly.
it. And so that was what I was doing. And so over 100,000, okay, over 120,000.
You started
customers.
A group. You would do tutorials.
I did.
I love how you would educate people about the products, because people really thought. And I love how gracious Gwen would be like, no, that's not. You would like have a whole scenario. You know what? I'm sorry. Let's ask the question though before we forget.
My phone about to die.
Yeah, excuse me, you all. I'm sorry, my sinuses. Yes, you can get a patent easily. It's called a poor man's patent. You have never heard of this.
No, that's not true.
Mm-mm.
That's not true.
No.
That is a very common. Oh, I never heard it for a patent. I've heard people say it for copyright.
Right.
But that is a very wrong assumption. The government will absolutely not honor that. You cannot take that to a court of law if somebody were to steal your invention or your invention or even your manuscript. They will laugh in your face and say you should have filed it with the government.
What is a poor? We were talking about that. That term came up before. Poor man patent. What is that?
Well, it's because it's really a poor man's copyright.
Okay.
So poor man's copyright is this kind of like old wives' tale that you can just kind of create your let's say a copyright would be for a manuscript or a song. You could create that and then you could just mail it to yourself and that would serve as a copyright. That is not true. I don't know where that story came from, but if you were to do that and someone were to steal your idea and then you were to take it to court, the judge would say you should pay the $225 to file the trademark. Now patent is more money, but nevertheless,
but you did it yourself too.
I did do the patent myself.
You didn't hire an attorney?
No, because it was like $18,000.
You put in the work.
I didn't have them.
Did you? Wait a minute. How much?
With an attorney, it would have been $18,000. At the time, this was 2015, so now it probably been more like $30,000.
Oh my God, Gwen!
But the filing fee was only $650.
But for the lawyer to handle all of that,
correct, and I was like, I got $650. I don't have $18,000.
Yeah.
So let me figure this out on my own. And so it took a lot of time. So I was either trading time for money or money for time. And so I decided that I was going to trade time.
Yeah.
And so I taught myself over the course of about a year how to file for a patent, because patents can take up to 10 years sometimes to get granted. Mine only took a year.
Wow. And you know what? I love what you said, trade time for money. I mean, money for time, because you can make more money. You can't get more time back.
100%.
Like, we're going to age regardless. That's why I was explaining that's why I explain to people, like, that's why at times I make certain decisions. I'm like, fuck it, because I only live once.
Yeah.
And I need to maximize my time.
Yeah.
Because I can always have the potential to earn more money.
Absolutely.
So, okay, the community of Naturalicious, thousands of women, you all have been on trips.
Yes.
You want to, I know, look at, okay. Yeah. I'm coughing, the battery, look, this is real life, y'all. Okay.
It's all good.
I'm getting it together. But so she developed this community, you all, Naturalicious.
Yeah, Naturalicious Nation.
And wait a minute, so where'd the name come from? Let me back up.
Naturalicious Nation? Or the name
Naturalicious?
It literally came to me from God, honey. Like, it was literally like
in the shower. Like,
I was literally I was in my office at the house, and this is the time when I was broke, and it just swooped into my brain. Like, it literally did. And I was like, oh, that's cute.
Naturalicious.
And that's how it came. I wish I had a better story to tell. But I don't. That's how it came to me.
I still love it though. That's wonderful that God gave it to you.
Yeah.
So Naturalicious Nation was developed, which was a Facebook group. Y'all done went on trips. I mean, we done therapy in this group, honey.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a whole movement. And that's what I love about. And again, that's what drew me to Gwen as well. Like that, just that sense of community. Yeah. She's from Cleveland, by the way, y'all.
I am.
So Gwen is, a Midwesterner, and we all about the community. So, and you've been here in Detroit
15 years.
15 years.
Yep.
So she's officially,
yeah,
adopted native Detroiter. Yes. We done adopted her.
I have a Detroit versus everybody shirt. I don't have a Cleveland versus everybody shirt.
Well,
so.
I mean, of course. So wait a minute. What has this process taught you though, Gwen? Because now that Naturalicious is still being sold. So fast forward, Naturalicious is still popping 13 years later. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's in Sally's Beauty. Walmart.
No. Ulta.
Ulta.
Whole Foods. Yep. That's the main big box store. You can find it in like smaller stores too, but that's the main.
Okay. And then online, of course.
Correct.
And you still offer the full line?
Yes.
Okay.
And we also have skincare as well now.
I love it. Yeah, because your skin is looking good.
Thank you.
It's popping. It's looking, yes, it is glowing. I love that about Black women. We fine. I love that. So talk about the Good Hair Bar.
Yeah.
Because that was a big venture for you. Talk about how that came about. I was brokenhearted when I drove past there and saw it was closed. But I was like, look, I love how Gwen, and we'll talk about how Gwen has pivoted to the Get Money show.
Yeah.
So you're just an example of one thing can start
Yeah.
it might end, but then it's still
Yeah.
other things that are continuing.
Yeah. So I'm healed now, right? So I can talk about this.
This is why I asked you before we went on camera, because I was like, is it okay?
Yes.
Because I was on the way here and I said, oh, I want to ask Gwen about that. Because
Yeah.
Ben wanted, so good.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
yeah.
glad you healed so we can talk about it. Okay.
So I just, to give some context, my mother passed away just a couple of months before this business started. So I had Naturalicious, and then I was starting the Good Hair Bar, which basically was a in-person brick and mortars, state-of-the-art spa and salon that sold and used Naturalicious products. So they were kind of like different companies but connected, right? And so I bought the building. I was really excited. Now, keep in mind, when I started Naturalicious, I didn't have any money. I had $32 when I started Naturalicious. I didn't have any resources. When I started Good Hair Bar, this was 11 years into my entrepreneurship journey. So I had the resources, right? So I bought the building. I was able to get the loans that I needed to do what I needed to do to renovate the space and all that sort of stuff, right? Because the revenue from Naturalicious was able to vouch for the viability of me as a business person, right?
Right.
So I start this business, and I did not take into account how transient the stylist careers could be, right? Like, I guess, like, what I'm saying is that Good Hair Bar was a really structured to be like a corporate salon, right? So that means that you have to be here at a certain time. That means that you have to stay till a certain time. That means that you can't just decide you don't want to work on a Saturday. That means that you don't get to pick and choose, like, if you don't want to work with a certain client. Like, you can't do that here, right? You can't have your man coming in here starting random stuff. You can't call in on a Saturday and say, I'm not coming in because I just don't feel like working today. Like, you can do that if you have your own suite. But you can't do that here, right? And so we had no problems with clientele. In fact, I think it's still up. If you Google Good Hair Bar, you'll see it has like 200 some raving reviews, 5-star reviews. So it wasn't a problem with the clientele. It was staffing issues. And so we kept having to fire people. And in order to make the math at that location for the amount, you got to understand, those who are listening, this was like almost 4,000 square foot space. This is a huge salon.
It was beautiful.
It was enormous, right? So the mortgage on that building was astronomical, not to mention the taxes and all that sort of stuff. So in order to make the math, we had to have I think 12 we had 14 stations, and we needed 10 of them to be filled in order to make it work. That didn't account for the nail station or nail room or any of the estheticians or the spa stuff, right? But we kept having to fire people. So at any given time, we only had 6 filled at any one time. So like, we would have one person come in, great, we got a new person, but then we got to fire 2, right? And that kept happening. And at some point, it was just like, I can no longer personally fund this. Like, the business has to be able to sustain itself.
What was that? Oh, wow. I'm like, it's the war. What's that? Shit. Okay.
And it wasn't able to do that. And so, just transparently, like, I had to close it, right? And when I closed,
what was that moment like for you, though?
It felt like...
What was that moment when you were like, I'm gonna have to just let this go?
It felt like defeat. It felt like I was so used to winning, right? Like, I'm not gonna say things come easy for me, because no, they don't. But like, I've always kind of overcome stuff. Like, if there was an issue, I was able to like figure out a way to finagle stuff to make it happen. And in this situation, it was just, I couldn't. And I just had to take my L and say, you know what? This has to close. And when we opened, we had 350 people at the grand opening.
Hell yeah.
And to have to close so soon, like, we closed within it was like just close to a year.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a full year. Was embarrassing, right? In a way. And I wanted to hide, and I wanted to like just be quiet about it, not talk about it. On top of that, my mother had passed away. And then I was also going through the end of a relationship that I thought was going to be who I was going to marry. So that relationship was ending. My mother passed away, and my business is ending. So I'm failing all around, and it was really heartbreaking. I remember, but I never wanted to hide, right? Like, I wanted to hide, but I didn't want to hide. Like, I feel empowerment and transparency.
Yeah.
And so I remember going...
And that's part of what your brand was. You had always, with Naturalicious Nation, you had always like, we had carried each other along, and we had all exchanged stories. And yeah.
And so, like, I was like the strong friend who needed somebody to check on me, basically, right? And
Absolutely.
because I wasn't talking about it, people didn't know to check on me. And
I think I text you a couple times.
you probably did. But I
Hey.
remember going live on Instagram, and I was just crying because I was tired of pretending with the highlight reel that is Instagram.
Yeah.
I was just
That
like,
everything's okay.
not
Yeah.
everything is okay. And I needed people,
not.
I needed to say, I'm okay with not being okay right now.
Exactly.
But I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And I need to get this out. And I was grieving. And I realized that grief is a very patient beast. Like, it will wait for you. It will, you can distract yourself as much as you want to. But if it will just sit in the wings and it'll just wait. And then once you are not distracted, here it comes. Like, hey,
Yep.
I'm back, you know. And so I just had to deal with that. And that very next day, my realtor called me, the one who had helped me buy that building. And I had to sell the building, and the building didn't sell for what I needed to sell to. So I'm underwater on the building. It was a whole mess. She called me. She said, hey, I just saw your video on Instagram. I'm really sorry that you're going through that. I'm going to connect you with some people that I know. But in the meantime, what is your plan? And I didn't have a plan. I was just feeling sorry for myself. And I was like, and instinctively, I said to her, I don't have a plan. All I know is that I'm a winner and this is temporary.
Yep.
And I believed that with every fiber of my being. I just needed to get through it. And so that call and that conversation was really the catalyst for me to put together a plan, because transparently, when that business closed, it put me in a whole like $147,000 in debt that I had to, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars that I'm like, how did I get here? And a lot of times when people go into that, and this is kind of like segueing into
Yes,
what I'm doing
auntie.
now.
Listen, could the phoenix rising from the ashes, Jesus.
So it was like, how did I get here? When people think of folks being in debt, a lot of times they're assuming that, oh, they was out here buying Louis bags and Gucci shoes and taking frivolous trips. Like, no, I called myself being a good steward of what God had given me, right? I called myself trying to multiply what he had given me with Naturalicious by creating another business and therefore creating jobs, right? And like helping other people, but it failed. And I just felt like, God, why? Why me? Like, why did this happen? Why did you allow this to be so easy for me to get into? Because I always felt like if it runs smooth, like his hand is a part of it. And it just moved so smooth. Like, it was the easiest building purchase for a first time commercial buyer ever. I think that the bank had said. Everything just went really smooth, but it still failed. And I just couldn't understand. And so I put together that plan. I said, I got to get out of this hole. And the good thing about it is that my mom and my dad have always been really good with money. But they were good with what they knew, right? Like, they didn't know about investing. They didn't know about that sort of thing. But they knew how to, like, my mom knew how to make $1 out of 15 cents kind of thing. And my dad was always very good at, like, thinking for the future, like estate planning and stuff like that. But we grew up in the hood, so it was like they had limited knowledge of finances, but they taught me what they did know. And so for that little bit of knowledge that I got from them, I was really good at, like, managing my money. So I said, okay, let me put together a plan so I can, like, see the light at the end of this tunnel, because right now I'm in a hole and I don't see any light and I'm just depressed every day. So I put together a plan, and I worked the plan, and I ended up paying off $147,000 in 8 months.
I love it.
And I started to realize how simple it is to build wealth, but it's not easy, right? It's very simple. And I think that, society and schools and the 1%, they make it really complicated sounding, because the 1% has to remain the 1%, right? If everybody knows what they know, which is really not a whole lot, right? It's just a few things that you need to do. How they going to remain in power, right? So I started to be like, I did this, and I should caveat this and tell you, which I just told my community this yesterday on a live that we did. And the phone about to die, but it's all good.
We can reshare the video.
Yeah, but
we can reshare it in there.
I just told them this, and it was the first time I had said it out loud publicly to people who I didn't necessarily know personally. During that time when I was in that financially horrible situation, people do not know how bad it was for me. My lights got cut off. And here I was, like, if you Google Gwen Jimmere, you see all these accolades. You see all these, like, you think like, oh, she's like a millionaire, right? Just because you make $1 million in revenue don't mean you got $1 million at home, right? And so I was actually struggling. My lights got cut off. I was sitting at my kitchen table, and the lights just went out one day. And I thought, maybe is it storming outside? Like, what's going on? So I pick up my cell phone.
They made a mistake.
So I pick up my cell phone. I call DTE.
Like,
and they're like, oh yeah, for non-payment. And I'm like,
oh,
what? A mess. My son, he's used to taking trips to the Maldives and going to Europe and all that sort of stuff. He came to me one day and said that he had holes in his Crocs and he needed some new ones. And I had to say, baby, I can't get them for you right now. And it was $45 and I couldn't get them. And that was the lowest I ever felt. And he said to me, well, are we running out of money? And I was like,
listen, Kaden.
And I'm like,
straight to it.
Right. And I'm like, no. He's like, do you need me to like help with the bills? And I want my child to be a child. I don't want him to feel like he got to help keep the lights on,
Right.
And so I was like, I got to get out of this. And so I started to think about how, like, even though I'm an entrepreneur, I've had ups and downs. Like, that was the lowest I had been, but I was still going to create something that got me out of that and then build, like, basically overcome this. Like, my current circumstances did not determine the rest of my life.
Right.
And I wasn't going to sit around and feel sorry for myself. I was going to create a plan. And once I did that, I started to think about how many other people are living paycheck to paycheck. How many other people are worried that their lights are going to get cut off, whether they have a job or not, right? How many other people don't understand that our society is not set up, the things that we're taught or not taught is not set up for us to actually win. Like, we're taught to invest in our 401k, but we don't know that we're told that because the companies that we work for, they actually get a tax write-off for you investing in your 401k. And then they match, not because it's out of the kindness of their heart.
Right.
They match because they also get a tax write-off. But what they don't tell you is the part that benefits you and only you, which is this is not a savings account. This is an investment account. You need to be investing that 401k money that you're putting into stocks and certain stocks, ETFs, things like that will actually grow that money exponentially.
ETFs.
Exchange traded funds.
Okay.
So exchange traded funds are like a conglomerate of stocks. Okay. So basically you can instantly diversify your portfolio. So instead of you buying, let's say, one stock in Nike, right? If you bought an ETF that was like, let's say, a retail ETF, you could buy that one time and basically have a basket of Nike and Coke and Pepsi and Target and all these different, like 45 other stocks at one time. So that's what an ETF is. But they don't tell us that because they don't get a tax write-off for that, right? And also, if you were to do that, if you were to invest that money that you put into your 401k or your 403b or your SEP IRA, whatever you have, or even your HSA or FSA, right? So your health savings account or your flexible savings account, if you invested that money, you will be able to create what I call FU money. So FU money is what it sounds like. It's money where you can say, you know what, FU, I don't need this job. Because you're talking to me sideways. I'm here because I want to be here, not because I have to be here.
God, Jesus, you just hit a chord, baby. Because baby,
that is what you would have.
I'm at my job now because I have to be.
Yes.
Jesus.
But they teach us just enough for them to benefit, right? But not enough for us to be able to truly be financially free. Right. And so, or even beyond a job. Let's say
you meant the 401k though. I want to go back to that right quick. So with my 401k, don't they already invest the stocks, or you need to be investing in the stocks yourself? Because I thought the companies they do the investments for you.
Some companies have where they'll put into
or are they maybe not picking the right ones?
It's not necessarily that they're not picking the right ones, but it's like a one size fits all kind of thing. So they'll say, okay, well, Raquel is in her 40s. She's got 15 to 20 years before she retires, right? So we're going to put her into the 15 to 20 year plan that we're going to put everybody else into as well. That's that same age.
Okay.
If Bryce is 21, well, he's got 40 years to retirement. So we're going to put him in the more aggressive one. It's going to be a one size fits all for that particular one. But you are not in tune with you don't have no clue what you invested in. Right. And those stocks maybe have been dying for however long. Right. So even if your company does invest it for you, got to keep in mind the only person who's ever going to be as interested in your money is you. Like, nobody else is going to care as much.
I'm going to have to look into this.
And so that's not to say that they're not investing it. And it's not even to say that they're not investing it well, right? But you need to know what you're invested in. And you need to be knowledgeable about what you could be invested in addition to that. So most people are just putting their money into the 401k and they're maybe doing the match, right? And I definitely suggest that you do or get at least invest as much as you can to get the match, because that's free money. But it's not a savings account. I was just talking to somebody who was a part of the community a couple of days ago, and she was telling me about how she's about to retire, and she's got maybe $100,000 in the account that she saved up over the course of her 40 years of working, right? And I was like, well, have you ever invested any of that money? She's like, well, it's sitting in the 401k. And I'm like, but have you put it into stocks, right? Is it just sitting there? Is it just safe? She's like, I don't think I've ever invested it. And I was like, in 40 years, your 100K, if the market in general gets about 10% returns, right, over time, you can't get that in a savings account. The best you're going to get in a savings account, and that's a high yield savings account, is like 5.5%, maybe, right? So you double that with your stocks. So had she invested that $100,000, she would have close to probably close to $1 million.
Right.
Over time, had she started when she first started investing. Now, if she took that $100,000 today, it's not going to turn into $1 million because she doesn't have time on her side. But had she invested it over that course of that 40 years, if she had the knowledge of that, right, which is why the Get Money Show exists, to provide the knowledge that they're not going to teach us.
Right.
She would have had, she'd be retiring with a whole lot more money.
So I love that. So let's segue into that. So the Good Hair Bar, and by the way, we were going to update people about Mike was the guy she was here with when they first appeared on the show for interracial relationships.
Yeah.
That was a relationship that was ending when the Good Hair Bar was, or no. Okay, that was okay.
No, Mike and I had already, and to be fair, Mike and I broke up in January of 2022.
Okay.
But Mike, even though we're not together, Mike still works for Naturalicious, actually.
Okay. I love how y'all are still friends. Shout out to Mike. Okay.
I will say that he is a great person. We are just not together. Like, we didn't make it, but we were together for 9 years.
Okay, yeah.
But he is a phenomenal person. The person who I was talking about that I had to break up with was some other narcissistic fool after Mike. So it definitely wasn't Mike.
Okay. No. Okay, good. Shout out to Mike, by the way. Yeah. So, and I love how you all co-parent Kate, and I love how you all are still a family, and that just goes to show that's real big. They real big and mature about it, okay? Because they was engaged and everything. So so Good Hair Bar closes.
Yes.
And you sitting at the table, can't get the Crocs. What started that transition to you? Was like, because you had a podcast before, but what I could see with the Get Money show with Gwen, definitely you've ramped up. Like, I've noticed you posting on IG every day. Like, what describe that transition? What are some tools that have helped you to become financially free? Like, how did you? Because I saw you on her YouTube. She has the how I got out of $140,000 in debt. Yeah. But that video is about an hour long. So give us kind of
the cliff notes.
Right quick.
Yeah.
Of how you came about and was like, look, I'm going to do the Get Money Show.
Yeah. So the Get Money Show, actually, like you said, I had a podcast before, and it was called the Get Money Show.
Okay.
And I actually started around Periscope time. I don't know if you remember Periscope.
Yes,
back in the day.
yes.
So I would just go live, but I was talking about entrepreneurship at that time. So I was teaching people how to get money in their businesses. And I would just go live on Periscope for like 20, 30 minutes. And that was my first time like going live and like getting like real-time feedback from people. And this was almost 10 years ago at this point, right? And then as I got, more involved with Naturalicious, this was around 2019, 2019, I started the Get Money Show, taking it from Periscope onto a podcast format. There was no YouTube involved. It was literally just audio. And so at that time, I was interviewing really successful entrepreneurs in hopes of inspiring smaller businesses to go big, with their businesses. But I got really busy and just didn't have time, so I shut it down. So pandemic happens, life happens, whatever. And I am sitting at the kitchen table, lights got turned off, came buy my son the shoes that he needs, and I put together this plan for myself. And during all this time, I felt very purposeless. And for me to feel fulfilled in life, I have to be adding value to people's lives. And with Naturalicious, I felt like I had done that for a long time, and I didn't really know how much more value I could add. Like, I had been, like you said, I've been teaching about hair for 10 years at that point. And it was like, well, how much more can I talk about hair? Like, hair is hair. It don't really change, So I don't know how much more I can say. And although I was still impacting people and helping them, I felt like I had done all that I could do that was innovative in that space.
Right, you had covered it from the root to the end.
Yeah,
the ends, baby. From the root to the split ends.
I did the Repair Your Hair challenge.
Listen, everything.
Like, I didn't have nowhere else to go.
The whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't have any more mountains to climb. And so so my next venture was the good hair bar, but that failed, right? So it was like, well, okay, what do I do now? Like if you and I felt it's so funny. I was just talking about this with somebody last night. My identity was rooted in Naturalicious. So I felt like if Naturalicious isn't around, if Good Hair Bar isn't around, then who is Gwen? If you Google Gwen Jimmere, that's what you find, right? So I'm like, who am I outside of this? And to his credit, the person who I ended up breaking up with, we had a conversation about this, and he was like, well, if if your purpose in life is to help add value to other people's lives and help them, transition from one bad place to a great place, Naturalicious or even the Good Hair Bar is just one vehicle. You can buy a different car and you can have the same purpose, right? You still get the same destination. It's just you chose a different vehicle to get there. And that made so much sense to me, but that still left me like, okay, that sounds great, but what is that new vehicle, right? And so for the better part of 2023, I spent it in search of that mission. I didn't know what that mission was. And in I say God works in mysterious ways because it is only because I went through that struggle with my own finances that I am talking about finances now. Because like I said, I've always been good with money, but it wasn't in my wheelhouse to even think about talking to people about fixing their money. Like I'm an entrepreneur, right? So it's like, let me help people build a business, not let me help people fix their money problems. That wasn't what I was thinking about. But I always say that this is a true example of God qualifying the called instead of calling the qualified, because I think what helps me and what I'm doing now is that I'm a regular person. I'm not a financial analyst. I am not I wasn't on Wall Street, right? I'm not a talking head on CNBC, right? I'm a regular old Black girl from Cleveland who lives in Detroit now, whose finances got fucked up, and I figured it out, right? And like I'm helping you figure it out too. So I think there's a relatability in that, right? But I also, because I am who I am, I'm able to talk to it in a way that is not so intimidating for people. Like they get it. Like the light bulb goes off. They're like, oh, I should have been investing in my 401k. Oh, wait a minute. I can invest my HSA too. Oh, I can put my HSA in stocks and I can build passive income and I can have, I can easily save $7,000 in a year without changing my lifestyle and didn't even realize how I could do it.
I need to hear more about that HSA and
yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
So like all these things, like I said, building wealth is very easy, very simple in practice, but it's not easy because it requires discipline, it requires patience, and it requires consistency. And those are three things that most of us do not have, right? So when I started, kind of doing the Get Money show, I was like, well, I think my passion is now still adding value to people's lives, but I'm going to talk about personal finance and entrepreneurship. And so I was doing both originally on the Good Hair show, on the Get Money show. But I started to notice very quickly that by and large, people wanted to know, they didn't want to know about the business thing. They wanted to know about, how do I get this money? Right. And so luckily, the name Get Money Show lends itself to either one. Right. And so I just go with what people wanted. Because again, my goal is to add value. So if how to create a business is not adding value to you, but personal finance is, then that's what we're going to talk about. And so that's kind of how the Get Money Show has become like this personal finance get money thing, and that's kind of how it came to be. But it was really only because I went through that. And I remember I was in my kitchen, I was cooking eggs. It was in January. And I remember I heard God clear as day, not audibly, but it was like my thoughts. And these were thoughts that I could not get rid of. Like, it wasn't like you have a thought and you just like, okay, whatever. It was like, it was just permeating through my brain. And I just knew it was God talking to me. And he told me that he had me go through all that mess that I went through with that situation because he needed me to be a testimony of what was able to happen and help people with their finances. And I remember thinking, this was before I had even started the Get Money Show, before I brought it back. This is in January. And I'm like, I'm not here to help nobody with no finances. Like, I'm trying to get my own finances together, right? And he was like, this is what you're going to do. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, God.
Being hard-headed. See,
that's not what I'm here to do. I'm a business owner. I create businesses. That's what I do.
Right. You judge pitch competitions and all that.
He was like, no, you are going to be, the vessel for this. And I cannot tell you the joy that I get from, and the fulfillment that I have. I just started this in May, right? seeing
And
people.
already,
Yeah, I mean, it's like we already have a challenge that's about to start in September. We already have almost 2,000 people on the YouTube channel, 1,000 people, 1,100 in the Facebook page, 21,000 over on Instagram. Like it's just really blown up. But I think it's the obedience of it. And he's like, this is what I want you to do. And I get so much joy from seeing people like in real time when I'm doing the lives that I do. I do live streams on Wednesdays, and there'll be so many people on, and I'll be talking about a high yield savings account, how you're losing out on $10,000 just by having your money in the wrong type of account, right? And then
Now, where do you get the information from? Are you researching? Like,
well, these are things that I know.
Okay,
right?
that you've just been using for years.
Yeah, things I know. I mean, but I also because I like money, right? Like most people do, but I also like learning about money. So I'm always like learning about stuff, right? But some of these things are just things that I've always known, right? So like high yield savings accounts, putting it, the 401k thing that we talked about, right? These are things that I've known that most people don't know. And, just you're losing out on $10,000 just by having your money in a traditional savings account versus a high yield savings account. And to see like tons of people in the moment say, I'm about to go open this right now.
Right.
And then they come back, like, I just opened my account.
Right.
It's like right now, within this past 5 minutes, they're like, yeah, I just did it. And so now what I'm doing over, I'm sorry, I've been talking, but what I'm doing now over in the Get Money crew, which is the Facebook group, is when people post like their money wins, like I'll do a conglomerate of that, or like a mashup of it every Friday. So I'll say, Janelle just paid off 3 credit cards, and Rocki got out of $6,000 worth of debt, and like every week, so people can see like it all at once. Like, look at these
once
wins.
Again, building that community.
Yeah, look at these wins that are happening.
Because I love also high times on Facebook. You be like, what are your wins?
Yeah.
So, and that's also part of it too, like teaching the people information, but also having that sense of community.
Yeah.
So that they can build that consistency and discipline and have someone else.
Yeah.
So let's go into one of the videos.
Okay.
One of the video shorts on her YouTube page where she talks about the streaming. I'm gonna tell y'all now, y'all need to get a Fire Stick. I've been telling people and get rid of all of that shit. Now I do have Netflix, but let's go ahead and talk about cutting expenses.
So a nice to have is something that you don't need to have in order to survive, right? It's just something that makes your life more enjoyable and probably more comfortable. So for example, your Disney Plus subscription, if you have a clothing subscription where you get like a subscription box every month, that's a nice to have. Those are not things that you absolutely have to have. Now you may feel like you have to have it, but let's be honest, you ain't got to have that for real. Once you've done this categorization, now you can really look and see, okay, what do I need to cut here? Because if you're looking at your debt on one hand, and then you're also looking at your expenses, you're like, okay, I need to get rid of this debt as soon as possible. So what can I cut over here? Or what can I replace with other things that provide a comparable experience that costs less money? And let's be honest, are you really using all those streaming services? Like, how much TV can you really watch? At one point in my life, I had Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Max, Apple TV, and I don't even watch that much TV. Like, I literally have like 3 shows that I watch, and they're all either on Hulu or Netflix. So why do I have all these other services? Get rid of that. Now, if you're somebody who like, oh, I need Stars because I gotta watch my show that come on Stars, just get Stars, for example, when there's a new season, and then cancel it once you watched it. This way you get to reduce the cost of your monthly streaming service fees while also being able to see all the shows you already want to watch. What's the point in keeping a streaming service for months after you watch the show if you're not even watching that streaming service anymore? You're just wasting money. Another tip that most people don't think about, go to your cell phone, look up all of the subscriptions that you have for apps. Do you have any that are paid? If so, are you actually using them? Most people have 2 to 3, maybe sometimes 4 or 5 paid apps that they don't even realize that they're still paying for, that they don't even use. So cancel those that you don't use anymore or that you're not planning to use anymore. I have to caveat this and let you know that I am not here to be the fun police. All we're doing right now is simply taking what it is that you're already overspending on and replacing it or eliminating it if you don't use it. If you do use the thing or service, we're going to do our best to replace it with something that is comparable that costs less. If it's something that you're definitely not using anyway, we're getting rid of that. A good example of this for me is that I had a personal trainer that I was going to see 3 times a week. Well, it's kind of expensive to go see her 3 times a week. So I actually cut it down to 2, and she already utilizes an app that tells me the workouts to do. So on the 3rd day that I was meeting with her, I do those workouts on my own. I'm still getting the exact same level of service pretty much, except I'm only seeing her 2 days in person instead of 3. But I still get the same exact workouts that I would have gotten had I been seeing her those 3 days. If you have a car note, I need you to work on paying that off, because according to bankrate.com, the average used car note is over $500 a month, and the average new car note is over $700 a month. Do you really need a $700 a month car note? Seriously? You don't need that. So if we're talking about eliminating unnecessary expenses or replacing them with comparable services or things, but give us the same level of service but cost less, let's get rid of that car. Go and turn that car in or sell it, so that you don't have that average of $700 a month as a car note, or that average of $500 a month as a car note. So turn that boy in or sell it, get yourself another car that looks good and is reliable and costs you half the price. Nobody said you had to be riding around in a bucket. Nobody said you had to be driving down the street like Fred Flintstone, using his feet for momentum. Nobody said all that. You can get a nice looking car that costs a fraction of what you're currently paying in your car note. You don't need a Bentley. You don't need a Range Rover. You don't need a Benz. You don't need a Beamer. You don't need none of that. Why do you need that? So you can floss? So you can have the outward appearances of wealth without actually having wealth? You got a whole bunch of debt, but meanwhile, you over here paying this car note and all the other debt you got, but you look good while you're doing it. Come on now. You hustling backwards. Let's not do that. Get rid of the debt, get rid of that car, and replace it with a car that gets you from point A to point B, but looks really good.
I love that. Yes, Gwen. That is so you know what? I'm gonna just say this: get y'all a Fire Stick, because I'm the type. I will get a subscription and I set reminders on my phone to cancel the subscription. I've had to like be purposeful about that, because sometimes I'll have certain clients and I'm using certain software with them.
Yeah.
And you know, if you don't have that client, now I don't need that software anymore.
Sure.
So I'm making sure that I'm canceling it. So I've gotten really good with that, because all of these little, and Apple will drive you crazy. Apple.com.
Yeah. Oh,
yes. They will 99 cents you to death.
You don't get a bill, right?
Yeah.
You don't get a bill in the mail.
No. I
forget
get you,
about it.
Right. But I have made sure that I set on my calendar and lets me know when I'm paying certain stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with letting go on those streaming services, because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like you, sometimes I'm like, it'll be some weeks I'm not even watching TV. Or if I'm watching TV, I want to watch Different World episodes or something. I'm not even watching, like, I'm not really a reality fiend like that. I have 1 or 2 reality shows that I watch, and I'm like a Grey's Anatomy fan. And you know, so great. I love it. Like they say, actionable tips.
Yeah.
And so what else? We wrapping up, y'all. Oof. No.
We didn't even talk about pop culture.
Oh, yes. Okay. Good. I'm glad you reminded me. Yes. Okay, so wrap it up. We're gonna wrap her up. I want to get your opinion on the Megan Thee Stallion at Kamala campaign performing. And also we're gonna end with your 5 faves. So boom, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, when I saw it, I was like, what is happening? Why is Megan? And I'm here for a Megan Thee Stallion concert. I'm here for a Megan Thee Stallion twerk session at the house or wherever, even out in the streets. But I don't know about the Kamala Harris.
You weren't feeling it?
I mean, you know what? Personally, me being me, I was feeling it. However,
I think she was trying to apply to a different demographic, because we got to reach the young people.
Yes, but I also know what her opponents would have done with that. You know, and I was more thinking like, did they not think about how this is going to get spun? She has, you know, this is who they have, you know, talking to our America's children, you know, and like I loved it personally.
Yeah, and I thought the outfits for Megan were pretty conservative. Now let's
they were
be
pretty
clear,
conservative. I mean, clearly, but you would have never seen that at any other presidential.
I mean, it was just Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan, though. Like,
right. But I mean, but even at like, even with like when Obama was running, right? I think the most risque they got was Beyonce, right?
I thought it was Jay-Z. Yeah, Jay-Z was.
Oh yeah, but Jay-Z not rocking. I mean, I'm saying clothing wise. Beyonce will come out like a little short skirt, you know, whatever. But I think Megan's like reputation, right, or what she's kind of known for, is like this kind of like, you know. Bootylicious.
I think it's partly too that people don't realize also her background, that she does have some substantial things that she's done.
Oh, she absolutely does. And she's
know,
a college graduate and all
right.
that
Like,
sort of
I don't
stuff.
think a lot of people are aware of that. And
But that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
So because perception is reality, right? At least it's your reality, right?
Yeah.
So if the majority of America's perception is that, Kamala Harris is this black woman who Trump says ain't black, but is black and whatever. And then, so we got that debate. And then you got Megan, who is kind of known for like twerking and not even just twerking, but, cussing and saying all kinds of stuff. Again, I'm all about it, right? But I'm not running for president. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it was a huge risk on Kamala's part. I hope it works out in her favor. I haven't really been too entrenched in like the presidential stuff because I already know who I'm voting for, so ain't nothing they can tell me anyway. But I've like kind of purposely stayed away from like looking at like the Trump stuff and what all their propaganda. So I don't know what they've said about it, but I can only imagine that they had some super negative things to say.
Not just them, but us as aunties and cousins. We were definitely talking about it. I was shocked as well, but then I thought like the publicist in me was like, you know what, she's maybe trying to reach a certain demographic and wake up a certain generation to get to encourage them to get to the polls.
Hopefully,
and it's as simple as if you have someone recognizable that resonates with them, they're like, oh, well, she had her performance.
Yeah.
Maybe it ain't so bad after all. I'm thinking I'm thinking maybe the younger demographic, because that's definitely an issue with getting people period to the polls, but getting the younger demographic, I think, is always a struggle.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the conversations were when they were planning who was going to perform.
I wonder
like who suggested. Was it Kamala herself, or she probably wasn't even in the meetings, right? It's probably somebody else. I'm like, who suggested Megan? And then who approved it? I'm not.
I mean, and then the thing is, it was in Atlanta too.
Yeah,
let's be clear, because if it was I don't think she would have done that in Wisconsin. That's nothing.
Or Detroit.
Listen, and the way she got with the lady yesterday, I said,
was that in Detroit?
That was yesterday when she told them, look,
I saw it.
Pretty much shut the fuck up. That was pretty much the gist of it. I'm like, ooh.
So yeah, hopefully it works out in her favor. I hope she is able to get the younger people out to the polls. I do think that they feel very like jaded with the political system, and a lot of them are just like, I'm not gonna vote at all. So hopefully that hopefully it works out in her favor. I have a lot of faith in her running.
I think it's time for a woman to run shit, period.
Yeah, I think she can win.
Be honest, like the men, y'all have had it enough.
Yeah.
And I know we going over, we gonna wrap it up. Y'all have had it enough.
Old men too.
Like
so I'm really glad that she's because when honestly I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard that she was running, I was like, oh no, she ain't gonna win against Trump. Like that because I didn't think that she should, but because I just didn't like, I'm like, the Trumpers are strong, you know what I mean? Like they gonna come out
as a woman and a black woman.
But right, you got 2 strikes against you, right? But like that same night, there was like 45,000 black women on a call raising $18 million.
And the white women joined in next week.
And then they
had 9.
Yeah, then they had it was called White Dudes for Kamala. I was like, come on, white dudes. With the white dudes.
Yes, at the rally yesterday, it was a white dude with a shirt on. Shout out to Charlene Mitchell. She sent me a video up, and a little white dude was sitting there. Yes, little older man too.
Yeah.
So God, please, Jesus. I just feel like it's time. Not even just like, it's just time for a woman's touch.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. Like, men, y'all been running shit for hundreds of years.
Yeah,
it's time for a woman's touch. It really is, and I love how she has the gravitas to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Like,
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's gonna be, let Kamala win, it's gonna feel for me like it did when Obama won. Probably even more so because she's a woman. I remember I was in grad school when Obama won the first time. Baby. And I just remember having a watch party at my apartment at the time, and me and my friends were over there, and he won, and we went out the door screaming. Yes, it was like late as hell.
I remember Sydney was asleep. I woke her up because I screamed so loud.
I was so excited, and it will be an incredible moment for the country and for us.
Really? Because Mexico has their first woman president.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They voted their first woman president early this year.
Okay, well, then
it's time for us to catch up.
Yeah,
it's time for us to catch up. It really is.
Yeah.
It'll be very momentous. And I said that. I need y'all to bring that Obama energy.
Yeah.
The way we was standing in line for 3-4 hours, baby. So Time will tell. So
Yeah.
we got to wrap it up, though.
Yeah.
But we're going to end with 5 faves.
Okay.
And I thank you, Gwen,
Yes.
and love you always.
Oh, can I tell them about the challenge that I'm doing?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes. Tell
Okay.
tell people where they can find you.
Okay.
Yeah, the challenge, all that.
So you can find me on Instagram at The Gwen Show. But you can find my YouTube channel, which is what they just showed. You can find that. You can just simply search Gwen Jimmere, but preferably search for The Get Money Show. I will absolutely show up. Gwen Jimmere, I may show up in somebody else's interview. But if you search for The Get Money Show, my show will pop up. And I want to let you know that we are hosting a 5-day Fix My Money challenge, which I'm so excited about. It actually starts September 5th. And I just opened the doors for it yesterday, and it's already like 75% sold out. So it's 5 days of digging deep into your finances. It is a personalized experience, which is why I can't take everybody, because I have to be able to help everybody who's on, right? So I can't take hundreds and hundreds of people. But it's 5 days of digging into your finances, really creating yourself a money map to be able to truly, for once and for all, get on a path to getting out of debt for good. So you're not living paycheck to paycheck. So you're not wondering, and even if you're not someone who's living paycheck to paycheck, just the fact of having debt in general is a weight on your shoulder.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, let's get rid of that, because you cannot, the money that you're spending on debt, like you just bought a car, right? The money that you're spending on your car note, what if you took that money and you put that same amount of money into the stock market? Right? How much money would you have given interest passively? That's passive income. I'll give you a good example. I was paying, and I love using myself as an example, right? Because we've all made mistakes with our money, right? I had a BMW convertible, hardtop. It was beautiful, right? This joint was $960 a month, right? And I was happily paying this thing, right? Wasn't even thinking about paying myself, just paying the car note so I could ride around with my drop top. $960 a month is around $12,000 a year that I'm paying BMW to drive a car that's depreciating every year in value. Bought the car for $60-some thousand, right? By the time I sold it back, it was only worth like 20-some thousand, right? Crazy. It was like 3 years later. Think about the amount of money I had spent. If I had took that, I did the math. If I had took that same $12,000, not even multiplied over the course of multiple years, just 1 year. If I put that same $12,000, instead of giving it to BMW, if I had put that into the stock market and invested in Chipotle at the time when I bought the car, that's when Chipotle was $50 a share, I would have $32 million today, because that stock rose to $3,245 just this year. So from $50 to $3,200, that stock rose. And had I put that $12,000 in there, this wasn't even 10 years, this wasn't even 5 years ago. Had I done that, I would have $32 million, and you would not see me right now. I would be gone somewhere else. Right? But that's what I'm talking about. Like, because it's not tangible, right? We always want the thing that is like, we can look at it and feel it. We're not thinking like, what if I just put this money here instead of throwing it away there? But you can't put it in the stock market if you're paying it in debt, right? So the money that you're paying in debt, you looking like, damn, what could I be doing?
Yeah. I need to get my shit together.
The money that
I'm gonna join this challenge. Wait a minute, we gotta wrap it up. Tell them how we can join the challenge.
You can join the challenge by going to you can go to gwenjimmere.com/fixmymoney. Or you can simply go to fixmymoney.co, not .com, .co, fixmymoney.co, and it'll give you all the details about the challenge. It's 5 days. It's only $64 for you to completely transform your financial life. We spend $64 in an hour on some bull, right? On some nonsense. Right. If you got $64 for Target runs, for a Starbucks, for Prime Day, you got $64 to invest in yourself and change your financial life.
Yeah, so that's true. Yes.
So five faves.
We're gonna wrap it. Excuse me for going over, y'all, but we're gonna wrap it up with 5 favorites.
Okay.
Thank you, Gwen. So such a wealth of information. Make sure you all follow her for more tangible tips. And yes, my brain is sitting here thinking like, God damn it, I need to get my shit together.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5 favorites. Favorite food.
Salmon.
Oh, that just reminded me. We need another night.
With
Chanel. Hey, Chanel.
Chanel is taking off for the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah, because she's getting married.
Yes,
Okay. Favorite travel destination?
Ooh, I'm going to say it was probably Greece. Greece was my favorite. I want to say it was Kenya, but it wasn't. I mean, Kenya was nice, but Greece was it.
Your favorite product from the Naturalicious line?
Step 2, that's the moisture infusion styling cream. That's the moisturizer and the hair care product that gives you the popping curls and all that.
All right. Favorite TV show or movie?
Don't have a favorite movie, I don't think. But my favorite TV show right now is Abbott Elementary.
Oh my God, I love it. It's hilarious, that show. Okay, last one. Favorite accessory?
I thought you were gonna say favorite assassin. I don't know why I was gonna say that.
That too, though.
Favorite accessory, for sure, earrings. Although
Mhm.
I really love rings.
Yeah, I love your around the way girl hoops. Yeah.
Thank you. But I love rings. Every time I go to a different country, I get a ring from that country. It's like my
Mhm.
souvenir.
Mhm.
But I just feel like you can take an outfit from like blah to like amazing with the right earrings, you know.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna
that's
say
true.
earrings.
Yeah, because you are definitely, it's giving
Thank
fly
you.
girl. Definitely giving fly girl.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Excuse us for going over. Thank you again to Gwen Jimmere. Make sure you follow her at
The Gwen Show
Show.
and the Get Money Show on YouTube.
Yes. All right. See you all next week. We will have Cherie Savage from the Coloring Museum. See y'all soon.
This was so fun.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me.